Hi there, I'm Rebecca and a really warm welcome back to my channel, PumpkinBecki. In this week's video we're going to be looking at my Pilea peperomioides, which is the Chinese money plant, and we're going to be tidying it up and doing a bit of propagation as well. Let's get started. So you can see I've got two Pilea peperomioides. They were both taken as tiny pups from my mother-in-law's plant. They grow on a west-facing windowsill in my house, which it's slightly sheltered from direct sunlight by the kitchen, which projects a little bit further forward. So it never really gets direct sunlight, but it does get plenty of indirect sunlight. Mine is quite misshapen. The ideal is to get them beautifully symmetrical, and you do that by turning them every week or so to make sure that the leaves are spaced beautifully around the main trunk. You can't get them to grow fantastically symmetrically without doing that. They need that access to light to be able to do that. But mine have got so many pups and they've outgrown their canes and goodness knows what. They need a really good sorting out, and hopefully I can start to bring the mother plants back into some sort of form. The windowsill for me is perfect. I don't have radiators. I've got underfloor heating throughout my house, which means that I haven't got any sort of hot and cold spots. It's all nice and even. So they do really well in my house. If you have got a radiator underneath your window, then it's probably not an ideal place to put it. Maybe stand it a little bit away from the window. Now, although we're going to be propagating these plants today, I don't personally actually need any more of them. My two big mother plants are going to be more than enough for my window ledge. So I've got myself a little stack of plant pots filled with a general purpose houseplant mix. You could use a succulent mix, but if you're giving these to people who are perhaps a little bit less experienced than you, they may not have quite such a good handle on the amount of water that they need that you would have. So a houseplant mix is a little bit more forgiving. So to help with consistency of watering and drainage and so on, I use a decorative pot and slip my normal nursery plant pot into that. You can see just how many young plants are in this pot. Big ones, small ones, most of them are shooting straight from the root system. Some are coming from the mother plant trunk, and they tend to be the bigger, thicker ones. Once I get through some of these, we can actually start to look in a bit more detail of how I'm removing them. But you can see that I'm getting really nice little plants with roots attached, and in fact the hardest bit of this process is untangling those leaves. And I can just pop that whole new plant straight into a pot of compost. This tiny one, you can see I'm just working my fingers down either side of its stem. It's quite delicate. And if I just now apply a little bit of pressure and lift and wiggle, I can pull the stem out, and you can see it's got some nice roots on it as well. And again, straight into a pot of compost. The bigger ones can be a little bit trickier, so it might be wise to try and use a knife just to try and loosen some of the root from the soil before you start pulling it. This huge one is definitely going to need a stake in it. This little tiny one has some leaves growing very close to where the soil surface will be. So I'm just going to pop those off to give it a little bit more of a stem. It's fine. And it's got some tiny hair roots on it. It's going to make a really nice little plant. Now this one is much bigger. It is a huge chunk of plant, so I'm really digging my finger down underneath, trying to follow the stem before I start to wiggle. Ooh. There's a really nice chunk of stem there which already has root growth on it, so I can pop that straight into a pot and you end up with a little branch plant. And this gets so much easier to do the more you take out, the better you can see what you're doing. I've got another big stem here. Oh yeah. That's got fabulous roots on. So I've just managed to get 21 pups of various sizes out of both my mother plants. You can see some are teeny tiny and others are much more substantial. They're in dry compost at the moment, but I will give them a water. Most of them have got roots, only a couple of them are essentially rootless. So now we're going to have a quick look at what I want to do with the plant that is remaining, the mother plant. Just want to stake it a bit. This one has totally outgrown its stake. Maybe refresh some of the compost and yeah, just make it look a bit better. So there's my little forest of Pilea peperomioides. The last lot I took into work went really quickly, so hopefully the same can be said for this lot. And my own personal ones are looking much tidier. I could pinch out the top shoot, but that's likely to make it either potentially push some branching from the trunk, or more likely push from the roots again, so I probably don't want to encourage that. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Height-wise they're fine, it was more that they were getting a bit wild and wide. Right, that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to me here on YouTube. And until next time, bye!